Should have a little line to say that we're recording. So I will keep letting people in as they appear, but I think that's most people who've joined in. Can everybody hear me? Is there anyone having problems initially at this particular stage? We're trying to keep this as accessible as possible, but at the same time, we've got quite a lot of people in, and it'll help with people's bandwidth if you're not speaking, if you can turn your camera off once we're at the stage where we're presenting. That will really help if just me and Kate have our cameras on. So yes, we are recording. This is the very first of our Hag Chats in relation to our exhibition Hag, which is going to open on the 8th of March. 2025. You may or may not notice that is International Women's Day. That was a rather joyful coincidence that we knew we were going to open it in March, and we just thought, well, that has to be the opening date, really, considering the theme of the show. I'll go a bit more into that theme with Kate in a second, but in the meantime, I think that I just want to set out the way this is going to work. We hopefully will run this event for an hour or so, but Kate and I will do most of the talking for the first 40 minutes. If any thoughts occur to you while we're talking, pop them in the chat, because we can always refer back to them, but it'll keep the nice flow of conversation going if people don't interrupt in that first section, and then we'll open up to to the floor essentially for the last 10, 15, 20 minutes, depending on how much me and Kate find ourselves talking. And then, yeah, we would really welcome this to become a bit of a conversation. As I say, the chat in the meantime, if you just hear something, you just want to note down an idea or a thought or a question as it occurs to you, if you pop it in the chat, that will be brilliant. I have my brilliant colleague Arlene just monitoring things in the background. If you have any problems with connections, put that in the chat or send it to mail at fcac.co.uk, and she'll try and pick that up and help you as best she can. But obviously, most of any problems are likely to be technical things that we only have limited capacity to solve, but we'll do our best. So if for now, I think that's an example. If we can keep it on mute, then we'll make sure that Kate and I stay as the main people at the forefront of this meeting. That would be fantastic. So I first want to introduce Kate Pickering. I don't know if Kate wants to say something, so maybe she can appear in the main image.
Oh, am I not there?
Yeah, you might. There you. For the recording, you're now front and center. But yeah, if you want to
Great.
say hi to everyone, I'll just introduce Kate. Kate, we brought Kate on board because of the theme of the exhibition, but also we've been chatting about working together for a while, and we talked a little bit about the themes that Fife Contemporary have been throwing around as the things we wanted to put into an exhibition. And when I mentioned the idea of a contemporary take on witchcraft, Kate immediately went, "Oh yes, that's where I want to go. That's the direction I want to explore." Kate has a great background in jewellery, design herself, but also artist support, project management. But she herself describes herself as a storyteller. She's a cultural instigator for on Fife as well, and it's just been a brilliant person to work with on developing this show. So come and say hi, Kate.
Hi, Kate.
This is why we called it the two Kates. It's great to welcome you, Kate.
It's so great to be here, and everyone in the room. There's lots of faces that I know, some that I don't know. So yeah, great to see everyone, and thank you all for coming along.
Fantastic. Thanks, Kate. So Hag, the exhibition will be opening on the 8th of March, running through to the 8th of June at Dunfermline Carnegie Library Galleries. And this title came from our initial thought about thinking about witchcraft and the fact that a lot of the culture of witchcraft, but also the history of it, is being revisited at the moment. It's being reclaimed a bit as an idea for women's empowerment, to sort of people saying, "Yeah, I am a witch. Yeah, I am," and it's becoming an interesting sort of cultural moment for that. And so that's the general thing that we came together to discuss. And we sent Kate away to think and have a bit of a respond to that idea. And this is where this particular notion of hag came out. I don't know if it's best to play the poem now, Kate. I don't know if you want to introduce where got to Hag
I would say
from?
let's play the poem because
Right.
that kind of sets it up nicely, and I'll chat about it afterwards if
So
that's all
this
right.
is I'm going to hope this technically works. Um, because I've been trying this out with Kate for a little bit, but we're trying to make sure that we share the sound of this poem. This is an audio recording by a poet, performer, actress as well, I think Sarah McGillivray, that was recorded for the BBC. We've got the soundtrack for it. Um, and I will do my best to show it. It means you're going to have just a picture of my media player, but it's the sound that I want to hope will share this way properly. So it's about 3 minutes of a poem being read, and I will share this. Share this now.
Few things make me as sad as when a woman says she's turning into an old hag, as if there's something wrong. Who did this so long ago? Degrading aging women and robbing her of home, debasing her with myths and hurting self-esteem, so she's laughed at, mocked by others, even her own kin. Well, I'm not going to have it anymore, because when I look at you, I see you turning into beauty, time, wisdom, and suffering overcome. I see the woman I aspire to be, endless spark of wit and fun. You are a marvel of the universe, more beautiful every day. So don't you give a second thought to what others they might say. If your bones start to stiffen and rattle, let's thank them and give them their due. It's because you look to others, you know life's not just about you. You've reached out those hands so many a time to relieve a mind of sorrow. Each line there shows the wisdom you hold, and from where you light we've borrowed. All seeing, all knowing you. I still get it wrong, you say. And here you go again, guiding the way with strength and humility. So with your nose it gets bigger, and your eyes start to crack, and your skin isn't perfect. Tell me, what is wrong with that? If you can't be put in a box and refuse to comply with how others tell you should live your own life. If you respect all of nature and call it your friend and think maybe this life isn't where it all ends, tell me, what is wrong with that? So take me in your arms, old hag. Let's claim the word together. We won't be broken by images that women must be young forever. Gather your hags around, dear one, and I will bring mine too. We'll stoke great fires together and be guided by the moon. Call me a hag, I dare you. I delight in all it means, for in my eyes are burning bright lights of power, and from me it beams. They're scared of all our knowledge, the secrets we might possess. We claim the hag, both old and young, won't be made to feel we're less. For I am great, and so are you. Let's break this bond of words. Let's band together, connect with light, let kindness fill our swords, or wands. We'll see you in the garden, and we'll see you by the fire. We'll see you where love's forgotten, and we'll see you somewhere higher. You'll know us by our looks, you'll be certain in our stare. You'll know us by our great, great power. We hags get everywhere.
That's great. Um,
Mm.
I think that poem, I think, is something that's guided you through um, the development of this show right from the beginning, really. I'm
Yeah.
going to just copy the link to the video from, um, hang on, send it to the whole chat for this meeting. And yeah, so that if you want to watch that again with the video, with the or the film that goes with it, then they can click on the link in the chat after this meeting. But yeah, if you want to go through how that's sort of what how you responded to that poem and what made you want to make this show based on that.
Yeah, so I think Kate kind of got to me at a timely point in my life. We were kind of just coming out of COVID, and I had binged the whole of the Witches of Scotland podcast, and that kind of led me down a path of thinking about the prosecution of those people, the fact that they were predominantly women, and then I started listening to another podcast called Witch on BBC Sounds. And it was there that I heard this poem. One of their episodes is particularly called Hag, and it was kind of flowing through the conversations, and it just kind of struck a chord with me, mostly because it's almost like I feel like the people that I've invited into the show, some of them had to be warmed up to the title and to the whole kind of prospect of the exhibition. And that's how I kind of feel I relate to the women in the poem, because when you see who she is as well, you'll see that she um I don't think she's over 50. Um so it's kind of I'm not over 50 either. So I know that I'm going to get to that point, and I'm getting so excited about it. So I would rather see the women above me fully embracing who they are and challenging those perceptions and kind of putting everything on its head in terms of, reclaiming that word, embracing aging, asserting their power, their knowledge, their experience, everything that they've built up to in their life, and it lays the path for other people kind of coming up to that age. So that is where that poem kind of really struck a chord with me, because it's like I just don't feel like that should be in the shadows. I don't feel like that group of women, group of people should be thinking that it's all downhill from here, or the kind of other titles that come along with that. So yeah, it's definitely, Kate offered me the theme of witchcraft and in a contemporary theme, and it was after listening to that poem and listening to that episode of Witch, I was just like, that's what I wanted to focus on. For two reasons, and one that I've already kind of said, but also in the world of craft, it's very much focused on the emerging maker, the startup, the new shiny graduate from the universities, whatever that may look like. So again, there's that side of things that I've tried to look at as well
And
and tried to address.
yeah, because does that come from your position and your particular time in your career as well, where you've established a reputation and your knowledge of jewelry is extensive, but I got a sense from you that you're looking up to a lot of people and you're admiring the work
Mm,
of a lot of people over a considerable period of time. I think that's something we also discussed, that obviously what comes with age is the time to develop your practice over years and decades,
yeah,
and with particularly with something like craft, where
yeah,
it's where the, that's that you build on skill on skill on skill,
exactly.
and
And it's like
continue to explore. That
yeah.
creativity is something that we talked about quite a lot as well.
And it still needs to be celebrated. I
Yeah.
still want to see these people in an exhibition. I still want to see their work. I still want to see their process. I still want to hear from them. I still want them to be relevant. I still want them to be championed. Um, so that's where this push has come from. And I'm not saying that people are kind of brushed off, or thrown into the shadows. It's just that's where I wanted to focus my attention. That's where I wanted to really champion and really celebrate. And I feel like that's a place where I feel comfortable when I'm championing other people.
And did you see? So obviously the women you've asked to be part of this show are women whose work you've been in most cases. And there's a couple of people who I
Hmm.
sort of pointed in your direction because they immediately the people who occurred to me when I thought about the theme. But mostly they're people who you've been familiar with for many years. Did the idea of the show and that idea of celebrating women with years of experience of making make you see their work slightly differently at all, as you started to look at it, or has it sort of made you reappraise what they do, or has it not? It's okay if it hasn't, if you may think, actually, no, I've just always just admired this work.
I mean, I think um, a lot of the time when you're seeing craft or when you're seeing work like this, you're very much seeing it on the surface. Whereas I've chosen to kind of dig deeper down into the processes and the environment and the inspirations and things like that. So I've definitely gained a more understanding of people's processes, the people that I knew anyway, and seeing how they work and seeing how they're taking this brief as well. So that's been quite interesting, and it's sometimes not even that they've built anything new or they've made anything new. It's actually, oh, my work actually ties in with that theme that you're already thinking about, and it really does go down that line. So it's really interesting to have been exposed to people's to new forms of work that people have as well, so that I've not been privy to. Claire, for example, Claire Hemmingsley, who's on the call, she's building a whole new body of work that she has been wanting to explore, and she had a research project that she wanted to delve deeper into, and this has allowed her the ability to kind of go in that direction and be able to showcase her work under this banner, and it still fits. It's still really cool. So it's yeah, it's just been really nice to see how everything is made on a deeper level, which is what floats my boat.
So going back to that concept of linking some contemporary craft practice with those themes around witchcraft, we took a long time talking about this subheading for this show, which eventually came up with power, knowledge, and alchemy through craft, because I think we dug in quite a lot into the idea of how people are retaking that witchcraft and hag label and looking at what that actually means. And I guess one of the themes that you picked out was the idea of women who won't be shoved in a corner in silence. Women who've got a bit of attitude
Feist.
to them, I guess. And if and I don't know if that comes across in some of the work, or in any particular themes that some artists' work might not show it so much in the actual object or the practice. It's about the
Mm,
person that who makes it. I don't know if that
yeah.
is something you could speak to in that with some of the people we've been talking about.
Yeah, I mean,
Basically, Claire, I know that Claire is someone who's definitely sort of. I think every artist in the show has a very strong sense of who they are and what they're about, and why they make
totally.
what they make. I think that seems very
I mean,
clear.
if you take the work of Carol Sinclair, for example,
Mm.
um, her work is made of porcelain, which is the most fragile kind of type of ceramics you can make.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't necessarily describe Carol as fragile. So like if you're just looking at her work, it is a beautiful, exquisite piece of craft. But actually, there's a feisty, outspoken, rebellious, independent, lively women behind that, and that is really what this exhibition is about. And I don't know how much we're allowed to say of the photographs.
Oh, well, let's
Um,
talk about the photographs. We should definitely come to the photographs. We'll tell everyone about them. I'm not good. We will keep them a little bit under wraps, but I'm very excited by them.
yeah, we're not showing you any of them, but the like I've always my whole master's show was the focus on the process, and it's the process that is the most important part for me. And don't get me wrong, that stunning pieces that are going to be in an exhibition, and it's going to be beautiful and wonderful to walk amongst all that. But for me, it is about the process and people's relationship with the materials or their environment or the reasons for making. And that is again kind of ties in quite nicely with the hag theme, because these people know what they're doing. They have yielded this wealth of experience, and they have, their sense of power, their sense of connection. They're not in a box, and they're very much putting their work out there. And that for me is what I'm mostly behind. And Lydia, who's on the call, she's the photographer for the exhibition, and oh, her photographs are just absolutely perfect, and she has gotten the brief so well. And I think personally that the photographs could be the star of the show. I'm not still dumbing that down. I'm just meaning like because that's the power that she has put behind them, and she's just encapsulated everyone so beautifully and really captured the processes as well. So it can definitely be an exhibition that will show that power behind the piece, if that makes
Yes,
sense.
that power behind the piece is a really nice way to sort of summarize that, and to give everyone a sort of bit of context of what we're talking about with these photographs. We felt that one of the challenges with, we want the work to speak for itself, because the work is what matters when people make any kind of work, whether it's craft practice, whether it's art practice. But with the theme of this, or the concept of this show being about visualizing the work of women with a huge amount of experience, we were able to get some support to commission some new photography. And so to have all of the women in this show photographed in their studios making, and those photographs also containing an element of portraiture of those women, so they are visualized and available to the audience without overpowering the work. And I think the way we're going to curate the show is going to work, because we have enough gallery space for the images to have their own room, which I think is really good. But it means that those photographs can really do something that, and now we've got the sort of what you might call the rushes, or the test sheets, the digital test sheets from Lydia through. It's just great to see them all together, because it just goes to show how very, you think it's getting better, but it's not. The amount of images of women over 50 it's just as an arbitrary number, but women over 50 that we see on a regular basis in the media, you just don't see it. And it's just great to see these women literally in their element, just doing this incredible work. And I think everyone who we've shown that batch of photographs to so far has just been blown away by them. And I don't want to talk them up too much, but I think it's hard not to talk about. They are really, really great. And I'm really, really pleased that they've come out so well. And I'm looking forward to sharing them with the artists and sharing them. This is why we don't want to share them with everyone with everyone here just now. It's not fair when the artists haven't had a chance to see them in their complete finished format. But we're really looking. I think it's going to be such a strong element of this exhibition, and we're very proud that we've been able to put that forward. And because of the way we were able to use the space in Dunfermline, the work will have its own space and presence without being overpowered by the photography of the maker. But the photography itself is really strong. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's like displaying the work and showcasing the absolute beautiful work is not the hard bit, because that just speaks for itself. It's just absolutely stunning. So yeah, we've got a whole different gallery for the photographs, which will be pretty cool too.
Yes,
and
definitely.
It's just I guess there's pretty obvious connections with the Alchemy. Oh my God, I'm gonna get it wrong.
Yeah. Power knowledge and alchemy.
That's one. Power, knowledge, and alchemy.
Took us a while to get. Don't worry, it's been the wrong way around a couple of times in some of our documentation.
So we've got Patricia Schoen, who uses raku quite a lot in her process. So naturally, we had to get a fire element in there, and then something else that's kind of been quite common in a theme, which I didn't expect at all, is a lot of sea inspiration. So there's a lot of water element in there too. So we've gone down a bit of an obvious route, but not really as well, because it's just helping us show the different layers of everyone, and show the different layers of craft in itself. And yeah.
I think that's something to maybe pull out a little bit, actually, is that connection to landscape and nature, which is always a very different thing for I think often it's commented on women compared to men. A lot of the thing with men is to sort of conquer nature, climb mountains, get to the top, do this. It's quite it's a bit of a cliche, but I think there's something in that. And then women living kind of within nature and relating to nature in a different way. But then there's also that experience of being a craft maker, and so much of that goes back to something elemental, whether that's willow and grown wood, or whether that is dealing with earth and clay, or whether that's metallurgy and dealing with metal work. It's all about element, changing it, and forming glass in a kiln and changing the nature of that material and how it changes once it's come out. So that's where there's also a kind of quite a poetic link, I guess, with the idea of witchcraft, a kind of quite a it's verging on almost sentimental, I suppose, if that's the right word, something that's quite meaningful.
I mean, so we obviously had we had a long list of potential exhibitors, and the way that we tried to kind of narrow it down was to think about we had different themes that we were trying to connect. So yeah, whether there was an alchemy element, whether there was a connection of nature, whether there was the kind of rebellious, outspoken, like using their craft as a way to protest, or as a way to kind of speak about climate activism, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, there was themes that we tried to help us narrow down, being like, okay, does this speak to one of our themes? Does that speak strong enough? Does this? So yeah, that's how we've kind of chosen the people that we have, but we could have chosen so many more, but we kept it 13, obviously, for the predictability of it.
What I should probably do is let me find the right link, is let everyone know, if they're not aware, the artists that are in the show. This is all on our website. So glass artist Amanda Simmons, ceramicist Carol Sinclair, weaver and basket maker or weaver and textile maker Caroline Deere, Claire Hemmensley, who works in textile, Emma Louise Wilson, who's a silversmith, and we've got Fiona Hutchison, who's a textile and tapestry artist.
Tapestry.
We have Gilly Langton, who's an amazing jeweler who people will be, I think, quite familiar with. Joe McDonald, tapestry, but working with paper. Judith Davies, who works in ceramics as well. Lisa Beck, who's a basket maker. Patricia Schoen ceramics, and Ruth Jones ceramics, and then last but very much not least, Susie Redmond's woven basket vessels, which are all extraordinary. I think as you read through that, you get that sense of the elemental, but you do get the sense of sea, which I think we didn't really expect. And I think that also, as we've started to look around the space and decide how it's going to be presented, we noticed that sea element and a lot of blue, but also a light and dark coming across. There's quite some like visibly dark work, as in dark color, and paler, more delicate pieces. And I think that's again a theme that I don't think we necessarily you didn't actually see until we started pacing it out a bit.
Yeah, and everyone loving the color blue.
And everyone loving the color blue. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know if there's anything that it was sort of come together. What are you most sort of looking forward to seeing in the flesh? Because I guess there's some work that you're probably more familiar with than others in terms of it's when it actually comes.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I'm finding particularly challenging is for me as a curator, when I do curate exhibitions, which has mostly been jewelry and silversmithing, is for people's ability to be able to see those things up close, to be able to touch and feel. But of course, this is quite a public exhibition, quite a public gallery. This is the space is quite large, so having things behind glass is something that I do struggle with. I'm not particularly fond of that. So that is something that I've had to kind of overcome, but trying to face the challenge creatively to be able to showcase them to the best that they can. We're also going to have like handling sessions as well within the exhibition, which will give the volunteers who will be working with us and the people in it on Fife, that will give the chance for people to be a bit more up close, to feel and to, but I just can't wait to get my hands on quite a lot of the pieces. And it's just to see what it will all come to look like in the space. You can visualize it and you can map it out and you can do all the 3D imaging that you can, but until you actually feel the power of these just delicious women all in this space
Mhm.
is just going to be so overwhelming. We've got a lot of things planned for the opening event as well. So because it ties in with International Women's Day, um, there's hopefully going to be quite a lot of things that we will plan and will tie in with all that to kind of give a good program of events. So that's something that I'm really looking forward to
Yeah.
as well. Um, yeah, I couldn't pick out one thing that I'm like looking forward to. It's just yeah, I think and it's really poignant as well because Dunfermline is actually my hometown. So when Kate told me that the exhibition was going to be in Dunfermline, that kind of sang to my heart as well because it's just like this is so cool. It's also the first time that I've curated an exhibition out with my own business. So I ran a jewelry school for 11 years and I curated many exhibitions through that, but it was very much like it was my thing, so I decided to do it, and it was just really okay, I'll try not to play it down because that's not what you're supposed to do at these things. But they were exhibitions that I just did.
Yeah.
Like I haven't been invited to curate an exhibition before, so it's a very poignant time in my hometown. My first exhibition, first invited exhibition. We're all called Kate. It's just great.
I think it's been great to be working with you, and I think yeah, it is a poignant exhibition actually. I think the whole show and its theme and it does very much come from you and your position within the world of craft, particularly jewelry, but beyond that, and looking at how you've related to all these people that you've known and admired or worked with or not been able to work with yet. And it's interesting to see how that's kind of come across in what you've pulled together.
Mm.
Um, I think
Yeah, I mean, I had to hold back not inviting 13 jewelers, obviously,
yeah, yeah, we can get you on a
for chance to
certain
experiment.
leash. Yeah, yeah, but no, I think it is a great, great to be able to make something quite personal, actually.
Mm.
And I think from the personal comes the less personal from the specific comes the general. Um,
What I
and so
what I do hope to get from the exhibition and something that is really quite particular is with the Witches of Scotland in particular
yeah,
and their whole reason for being is to get this pardon for all the people that were wrongfully accused and killed,
yeah,
and to get an apology and to get a monument resurrected. And the biggest critique that they get is that why are you doing this now? This was a long time ago. Why do we even have to think about it? What have you not got anything better to do with your time? And it's just, history repeats itself. And, you look at the landscape in which we are living in at the moment, and particularly with a certain someone being re-elected into the White House, it's just like, and the attack on women and our bodies and our strength and power, and it's just that's what I hope to achieve with this exhibition is just like, these people have got so much to offer and to show and to yeah, just to show the world that they've still, got the and I'm not explaining myself properly, but that we are fertile women for a short period of our life, and we've got so much life afterwards, and it's just about trying to bring that yeah, embrace the aging and just have the fact that I'm not saying that this is necessarily like an activism or a political exhibition, but it is. It's inherently is, and I really hope that people leave the exhibition just thinking about, the persecution of women and the persecution of women over a certain age and how we're, trained to please everyone and trained to there are wrinkles and yeah, I'm not explaining myself very well, but I'm just a bit passionate about it.
No,
So I'm
yeah,
just like,
your passion is absolutely coming across. It really does. Yeah, it shows, and it's come across in the thought you've put into who you've invited to be part of the show and the works that you've asked them to contribute. And I think it is going to come together to be something really quite special. I think it's probably a good idea to open up to conversation with anyone who wants to chime in with a question or a comment or a thought. I mean, there's a few other things we can talk about, but I think this feels like a nice moment to connect out to anyone else who's in the virtual room who might have a question. Kate, Helen has shared an exhibition which everyone ought to be able to look into. I don't know if you've got I know your connection wasn't being great, Helen, but I don't know if you've got the ability to connect in and say what made
Yeah,
you think of it.
it was just to say that Deirdre and I went to an exhibition called Double Agent Do You Speak Flower, and totally recommend having a look at the website. But we've both ordered the catalogue, which isn't sorry, in English language, which hasn't been printed yet. But the rooms of the exhibition were amazing, and we were fortunate enough to have a guided tour by the curator. And there was one room that, like I said, talked about the occult. The cult. She was talking about oh God, what was the Shaker lady, Anne, the lady who set up the Shakers from Manchester, who went over to America, and there were just all these different examples. And we're trying to find another link to another exhibition, but all of the things that we were hearing about totally resonating with what Kate's talking about there. So Arlene's kindly said she'll add some links to I presume the Fife Contemporary group. So we'll try and find you this other one for a series of posters that they had a residency of 4 women doing, and they've put together the most amazing website with lots of Kate, like you were saying, kind of with certain people in places of power and how this is being challenged, and it's fed by lots of different routes of information. There was a lot of kind of social media and just these kind of bite-sized chunks, but really just kind of showing this. It's been quite immersive couple of days getting involved in that, but we'll find the other link and share it too.
Amazing. Thank you. Thanks so
yeah,
much.
that sounds amazing. I've just got the link up, so it looks really cool just from the offset. Yeah. Thanks, Helen.
How has anyone else sort of responded to the theme? Did the title of the show kind of make you go ooh or ooh? Is anyone who had a particularly powerful reaction either way? I'd be really interested to hear. But yeah, I mean, we can keep talking, I think, a little bit about I guess another element of that material culture that comes with this exhibition, which is the fact that current takes on witchcraft, and this is something we've learned, I think, from colleagues actually got a real interest in it, is that more what you might term base or basic materials were a big part of sort of witch practices or witchcraft practices, whereas the sort of high-end materials were out of the reach of a lot of people who look at witchcraft from a contemporary standpoint and still practice it, which I thought was quite interesting. So it's even something like plastic, which we would all be fine to horror, is actually quite a strong part of contemporary witch culture. And I guess there's a connection with historic witchcraft. I mean, whether it's from the accusations, which obviously are totally based on nothing, but they from the periods of witch trials, but they were often directed towards women who had an element of independence to them. And one way that women had independence was to be able to be makers of some kind, whether they were weavers or whether they made
or healers,
healers, or whether they made potions or things that could actually heal people. So that connection with maker and that idea of independence and the idea of being able to do your own thing, and then the suspicion that comes from both those things, I think is an element that I find really interesting looking back into
and it's always just been fear-based, it's like these people who can make things and be sufficient and help people. So there just is a whole barrage of fear that these people should be feared and they should be pushed out of society and they should um yeah, so it's all and
Dangerous.
it just repeats itself. It just repeats itself.
Yeah.
They were witches back then, but they're trans people right now. It just history just repeats itself.
Yeah, exactly. I think it is a really interesting connection into that idea of making as a rebellious act, or making just as a perfectly normal act, but being treated as a rebellious act, I
I mean,
guess.
it's been there was a few people in the exhibition that we definitely had to warm up to the
Mm,
to the name.
mm,
Um, and what I find really interesting is when I do tell people about the exhibition and they ask what it's called, I usually just say hag, and I just like to watch their expression on their face, and they're either like or uh,
oh, wow.
um so I love that kind of visceral reaction. There is a reaction at least, and it's going to get people talking, it's going to get people intrigued, it's going to hopefully make people want to learn more and understand. What I hope is that people just don't there will be people that just disregard it, obviously, but hopefully they still step through the threshold and actually see what it's all about and delve a bit deeper.
We'll find
And this
other
is
ways of getting them
actually,
through the threshold.
yeah, this is the first kind of craft exhibition that On Fife has done, isn't it?
For a long time,
Mm.
we as Fife Contemporary have traditionally been bringing craft exhibitions to On Fife and getting them to be
I
to
think
support
is it
that.
Dunfermline?
But
Yeah,
yeah,
I think
the first
Dunfermline
place
have.
that Dunfermline has had, because Dunfermline the
Yeah.
new galleries were built during lockdown. They sort of opened sort of 2020, 2021, just that sort of lockdown moment, I think. I don't know
Mm.
that they were around much before that anyway, so they haven't had much chance to show a lot of different shows, and it's great to have that in the space. And I think, when we brought you on board, you were saying, oh, is it okay if it's more craft oriented than visual art? I said, well, the last show we did was very much visual art oriented, so yes, absolutely, let's go for it. And I think those are fairly artificial divisions anyway, and there's certainly people
Mm.
in the show who, I think every single person in the show is an artist, and I think that art is definitely about how you make something that transcends all kinds of labels. And craft is a very valuable tool for expression, but it also can be a moment to comment on material culture and making as well. Um, so yeah, it's exciting to have a craft show. Um,
Elizabeth, did you have a question? And I saw you come on screen there.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about my own reaction to Hag when you first mentioned it, and I had exactly, oh, really? Are you sure about that?
Mm.
And I have to say that listening to the poem being read out,
Mm.
I feel so empowered. I feel much better about aging just as a
Yeah.
result of that. And I want to claim Hag. I'm definitely in Hag territory. Um, no, it was actually about that poem. I'm not quite sure how you're incorporating that within the exhibition.
Mm.
What was going through my mind the whole time was how you bring some really good writing about
Mm.
she is at the moment. Somebody like Jenny Fagan, for instance,
Yeah.
who is both an artist and a writer and hex, and
Yeah.
whether there's a way of linking into that. So that's really
Yeah.
why it popped up on the screen.
Yeah. So I don't necessarily want to have the poem read out anywhere, but I think picking out a few of the words and having them in the exhibition would be really powerful, especially the last sentence. Um, So yeah, and Hex was a really good book as well. There's also Hagchat, and there's also In the Defense of Witches. Yep, there we
I
go.
really recommend. I'm halfway through.
Just as you pop up. But
We could
also
put some links in the chat, actually.
yeah, Witches of Scotland are currently bringing out a book as well. So I think I'd be really interested to see what they could potentially add to the exhibition too.
The nice thing about working with On Fife in the show is we're extending the show because of the great photography, because of wanting to put a lot of that resource into the third gallery space at Dunfermline. So it's sort of 2 or 3 gallery spaces, and we were going to be in the main 2, but we're actually also going to be in the third with the photography, and it will give us a chance to have a slightly more enhanced resource area, so we can get books and resources together that people could spend a lot of time engaging with, which I think, from the perspective of craft and making, and also the revival of all kinds of written research and interest in witchcraft, I think it could be really some place to spend a good deal of time. It'd be a really great show, that part of it.
Yes, you should all come.
Yes, well, definitely. I really hope we'll also have, because it's International Women's Day weekend, we're currently finalising our opening weekend of activity, which I think will be quite engaging as well. Because trying to make sure we hit and reach all kinds of different audiences. Any other sort of thoughts and questions that are occurring to anyone who's
Carol came on screen.
Kate's not just picking on anyone.
It's just such an exciting project to be part of. So thank you. But I suppose just wanted to pick up that point about the word hag. I mean, I have to say I love that. I love its controversial nature. I love that it makes people stop and think. And for me, just even the simplest opportunity to get people to rethink about the language they use around women and men, and the very simple fact that wizards are cool and witches are bad is a really interesting sort of observation that need to build into the conversations about this exhibition, that we really think about the language we use and how we use it and how loaded it is.
Yeah, and the word's not dead. There is people still using that as a derogatory term. I experienced it on my family holiday this year, where I think it was my sister called my auntie a hag, and I was just like, oh, that's interesting. And that Nicola Sturgeon was called a hag numerous times, so it's still in use, and it's still got those connotations. And I think it's interesting. Actually, people have separated it from the connection with witches, which has been quite interesting for me. And it isn't until I actually have to explain that it's come from a witch's theme, and they're like, oh, right, okay, because normally it's just stuck with, oh, that's an old woman. So it is really interesting to actually try and bring that back along, and where that word has come from a derogatory point, and now how we're changing it into hopefully a positive, and reclaim the word and just be like, yeah, I am a hag. You're right.
Bring it on.
Liz.
Liz was waving.
Yeah, all of a sudden I feel the need for you to create badges or brooches that say hag, because I'd love to wear one, please.
Yeah.
We might have that sorted.
You're on it.
We have hag bags.
Hag bags.
Hag bags.
It's a hag bag.
Yeah, we're working on
definitely, that. It's a movement. There'll be a hashtag. There'll be a selfie wall. It won't be anything like that.
I'm in.
But what we're going to do as well, because the work that we've got in the exhibition, we've asked some of the makers if they would like to have a selection of some of their pieces in the shop as well. So there is going to be some pieces going to be a part of a sense of the exhibition can be taken away. But yeah, we've got the lovely Claire thinking about making badges. Claire, you've unmuted. Come on in.
No. Well, I actually unmuted because I went to have a look at the space, and in the little gallery there was an exhibition of, I can't remember what her name was, but it was about witches.
Yeah,
Carolyn Sutton in Witches.
You had the list. You had the post-it responses to it, and that was really interesting. I was just wondering if that was completely coincidental, that exhibition being on, or
it was because I work at On Fife. This isn't how I got the gig, by the way. I'm not an in. I didn't work my way into that. So yeah, no. Anytime that I brought up the fact that I was doing a witches exhibition, everyone was just thinking of Sarah Kelly, who's the one that put that exhibition on, and it was Carolyn Sutton. That's a touring exhibition, so it'd been in Ayr, come to Dunfermline, then it's moved on. But we're like, I'm hopeful that I'm going to chat to her, and we're going to see if we can do something with her when when the exhibition opens or during the exhibition.
Yeah. Or potentially another Hagchat, just to actually sort of look
Yeah.
at her very much more direct response to witchcraft rather than using it as a sort of jumping off point, which is I definitely think the way we've approached it with this exhibition. And there's so many
Yeah,
other conversations to be having. So yeah.
it was quite a powerful exhibition in
Mm.
a powerful way that it made you just really think about the words and the language, like what Carol was talking about. But it was quite I mean, it wasn't an uplifting exhibition, let's say that.
No.
It was quite harrowing.
Yeah.
And obviously that's a really realistic approach to what happened in those times. But I'm hopeful that won't be depressing walking through our
No.
exhibition. That it's
I
gonna
think
be
this is it. Empowerment is definitely where we're heading with this show, but I think it's interesting to pull that from a place of pain, I guess. And I think it will be interesting to talk to Carolyn at some point about
Yeah, I
her
thought,
views
as I say,
on the
that there was a kind of double-sided kind of board where people were responding to the question. I can't remember what the question was, but basically,
it was asking whether why you would be called a witch.
that's right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
people's words were brilliant. Our little sayings were fantastic, and some of them were really funny as well. But
Mhm.
that kind of lifted for me. That kind of lifted the exhibition up as well a wee bit at the end. Made you didn't feel so gloomy coming out of it.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was really hard that exhibition because I spent a bit of time with it, and then we had to be in the space measuring up, and actually had to sort of blank it out because you had to just focus on trying to work out how big the room was and where we're going to place things, and it's very harrowing. It is very harrowing, and I think that is one very particular take and a necessary take on the history of witchcraft persecutions anyway, which is the reclaiming of that and actually visualizing that and telling that story. And I think what she did was really really strong for doing that. But I think that's where we've taken that initial thing in a very different direction with the show, and I think in a way that is more about empowerment rather than uh, hard-hitting, painful subject matter, I guess. Great. No, it's a good show. Got a comment from Linda Smith. I thought HAG must be an acronym for Her Aging Genius. We had we had a few other ways we were going to have acronym to HAG, didn't we?
Yeah.
But, no, I think and if that's what you want to take, I think that could work perfectly well. Absolutely. Got another 5 minutes if anyone wants to chime in with anything. We could leave it there, because just what we do want to do is have more of these chats, invite some of the artists involved in the show to be part of one, some other people who are maybe related, someone like Carolyn if she was interested, to come and chat to us about their work and how they respond to the theme of the show. But yeah, in the meantime, there's lots of exciting news to be breaking, particularly the amazing photography. So there'll be more of these online as we go towards the launch of the exhibition in March, and do clear International Women's Day in your diaries for celebrating in Dunfermline. So many excited with this. Lydia, who is our wonderful photographer, is so excited about the show. That's great. And it's lovely to see Diana here and back. And thank you for your comments. Absolutely,
Of course,
Diana. I'm working towards it. I'm working towards that goal. Brilliant. Okay. In that case, I think that sounds like the good point to leave it there. Let everyone go and have their tea. But thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Kate. Thank you for talking about the show. Thank you for putting it together, having the bravery to do it. Really excited for the next couple of months as we lead into the delivery of the exhibition itself. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Cheers,
Bye,
everybody.
everyone.
Thanks for joining in. Bye.
Bye.